A Vancouver homeowner nearly took a $500,000 loss, and it's not because the market collapsed overnight. It's because the numbers have stopped working and the bank had to step in. This was a property assessed at over $1.7 million that ended up selling for $1.2 million through a court order process. And when you see the details, the location, the features, it becomes very clear that this wasn't just bad luck. This was a perfect storm of buying pre-construction at the wrong time, over leveraging and hoping appreciation would save the day. But here's the twist. While this homeowner took a brutal loss, buyers right now are finding some of the best value we've seen in years, if you know where to look and what traps to avoid. So in this video, I'm going to walk you through step by step through this exact case study, what the property is, where it's located, why the numbers fell apart, and how the court order process works when prices drop below your contract value. And more importantly, what lessons you need to take with you if you're thinking of buying pre-construction, and how this type of environment can actually help you make a smarter purchase today. So let's jump into this and break this down. I'm going to bring the property on screen here for us to go over, and you're going to see that it's listed by Georgia Pacific Realty Corp. This is found on my website, kylemark.ca. This is all public knowledge. You can search for properties at my website at any time at your leisure. You're going to note that it says active, but at time of recording, Monday, November 24th, I did speak to the listing agent, and this property did sell for $1.2 million through the court-ordered process. If you're new to this process, how does it work? So whoever is selling this and foreclosing on this property, they'll find some agents to represent them, and they will put this property out for offering. But just because you get an accepted offer doesn't mean that this is a done deal. The first offer needs to trigger a court date so that they can settle this in court on the same day. So just because this was listed at 1249, I'll open up the history to show it off in a little bit of what happened when we got here. But whoever offers on the property, but the seller has to think that that offer is acceptable for them to pull that trigger date. In this particular situation, an offer was made at $1.2 million. The selling party deemed that that was acceptable, so that opened up a court date, which was on November 20th, so that anyone then could come to the court and auction on this property. So just because you're number one in this individual's case, who put in an offer price at $1.2 million, just because it gets accepted and produces a trigger rate doesn't mean that you automatically get to the property. You need to now go to court, and then you need to sit through those proceedings. Luckily for this individual who got a really good buy, no one showed up to court. They ended up getting this property for $1.2 million. And on here, it's a 3-bedroom, 3-bath at just over 1,300 square feet. This was a great value because, as you can see on BC Assessment, this was assessed at over $1.7 million, 1,706, a little bit further down from 1,723 the year before. So over $500,000 under assessed value. On here, it says 2 bathrooms, 3 bedrooms, but we'll look at the photos here to straighten that out. And over 1,300 square feet. It's a 2020 build, so still only 5 years left, has a couple years left on its home warranty as well. As we go through some more of these specs here, you'll notice that it was on market as day of recording 222 days. So like I said, sometimes it takes some time for that trigger rate to happen. I was looking at another property in West Vancouver. This property was on market almost 190 days. They haven't found an acceptable offer to create a trigger date yet to bring it to court. So sometimes it takes some time either for buyers to come up to that level that the seller will accept, or for the seller to continue to reduce its price, or then finally put an offer in place to get that trigger rate to get that property eventually sold. So it is a little bit different of a process than a regular resale. So again, 1,357 square feet, a 920 per square foot is what they were offering at 1,249. So this is insane on Vancouver's west side and the Main and Cambie area. To get something well under $1,000 a foot is great value. Strata fees of $904 a month. As we go down to the property description, you can see that it's located on the quiet side of the building. It's a spacious 3-bed, 2-bath, split-level home in Cambie, which feels more like a house than a condo. Featuring 9-foot ceilings, hardwood floors, AC, and floor-to-ceiling windows. It's flooded with natural light. Gourmet Malay kitchen opens to a large wrap-around balcony, perfect for entertaining. Upstairs, 2 bedrooms, including primary. Access a second private balcony with stunning city and mountain views. Thoughtful layout offers separated bedrooms and a flex/den for added storage or office. Solid concrete construction, 2 side-by-side parking, locker plus building amenities, rooftop deck, barbecue area, lounge and playground, steps to Canada Line, QE Park, Hillcrest, and Cambie Village. a rare find offering comfort, style, and unbeatable location. So you can see this is more of a higher end build. It has a lot of extras in this one here. So as we open up the photos, and when you are buying a court ordered sale, you are buying it as is, where is. So there is risk to these purchases. Sometimes the homeowner may still be living in this property while they're trying to sell the property. So if they damage things, if they remove appliances, you don't know what's going to happen, and the seller is not responsible for those actions. But here you can see that as a nice integration here with the appliances, a great color combination, 9-foot ceilings here, an open concept kitchen, and here you can see the melee appliances. So very thoughtfully designed. It does look a little bit cramped in here, but it might just be the furniture. But this is a 2-level condo. This is going down Cambie. This is going north down in this direction, and north on Cambie and King Ed will just be here going east to west. So you may have driven by this a ton of times when you are driving in this area. So this is what the building looks like. And as we make our way through, some nice bathrooms here with the floating vanity. And overall, like, nice touches. Obviously, it's cramped with some stuff in here, but it does seem very, very clean. You have the double vanities here. And this is essentially what this buyer was able to run a home run for at $1.2 million. You can see the balcony wrap around here as well. So a lot of storage space. And this one does come with 2 parking as well. So you can see on the quiet side of the building what you are being able to look out to. I believe this is looking south. And then here's the floor plan here where you can see how everything's laid out here. So you have the master bedroom upstairs, which is right beside another bedroom. You have his and hers closets, the ensuite, another bathroom upstairs. So this does have 3 bathrooms with the powder room on the main floor, open concept kitchen, and another space here. I don't know. I may even be tempted just to open this thing up to make it more open because it seems a little bit compact in here, but it does give you some options with the den here as well. If we look at the property here, I'm just going to show you property taxes on this one, just over $5,300. And something that is important to look at is just on the sale date. So this was purchased on December 15th at $1,545,900. So this was the original purchase price. Keep in mind, when this buyer purchased this, you will have a property transfer tax on this, as well as 5% GST. So with these things here, you have GST that is $77,295 on top of this, plus property transfer tax that's just over $28,000. So all in, you're around 1.65. So this is about a $450,000 loss from the seller, minus selling fees as well, depending on how that was negotiated with the selling agency as well. So this is something that is, obviously something that has seriously gone wrong here. This is very devastating for any type of buyer. And when you look at this property here, in terms of how things went, and you can see that this was the listing agent here, Teresa Gill from Georgia Pacific. But what you'll see is this property was originally, they tried to sell this in April of 2024, originally at 1.7. So trying to get that high level, likely knowing that they were probably facing some sort of issue and not going to be able to possibly renew their mortgage or get a mortgage with their renewal because of the rate increases, right? So they tried to have this on market for about 4 months. It didn't go anywhere. Then it was listed essentially a year later in 2025. And I think this was when the foreclosure period started. So this started here at 1.599, and they had multiple drops from April to June. They dropped it 100K to 1,499, then in August to 1,349, and then September 1,299, and then October 1,249. So when you start looking at this as a buyer, you know that there's some big time motivation for the seller to need to move this property, because this is a lot of price adjustments in a very short span. And then again, this was triggered out at $1.2 million. So one thing that you're going to notice, nothing on the listing itself, even on the description, states that it's a court ordered sale. On the back end of this listing, which I can't show you for privacy reasons, it does have a designation that states that it is a court-ordered listing. So if this is something that you want, I do have a list of all the attached and detached properties that are under court-ordered sale right now. You can reach out to me, shoot me a text or message in the comments. I can get that list over to you, and you can see and poke around what is there. This obviously is a home run, but it doesn't mean that this is a home run and how this works every time. There is still a ton of risk involved with these types of of purchases, you need to make sure that essentially you're buying this whole thing in cash or having a very straightforward understanding with your lender stating that you are wanting to move forward with a court-ordered sale, because a lot of the times you're not going to be able to get an appraisal done, you're not getting an inspection done on these things. So you do need to be very careful on it. But for those who are able to ingest that risk and have that cash on hand, these are the type of wins that you definitely can get. And this individual in a couple years is going to have some great equity, because just a couple years ago, even in East Vancouver, you could barely get a 2-bedroom condo that was around 1,000 square feet for 1.2 million. And now you're getting something that's over 1,300 square feet on a split level, high-end finishes in terms of the luxury build, and right by that SkyTrain station. So this is a word to the wise. If you are considering pre-construction, you got to make sure that you're going to be able to complete on this. You got to understand what happens if rates change. I mean, we're in an elevated rate level now, and we do have a record number of mortgage renewals coming up in 2026. And this is what we're seeing. And this is a perfect case study when you see that history of what to look for if you're looking for value, because it doesn't just have to be court-ordered sales. There can be people thinking that, hey, in 6 months, we're not going to be able to afford a new mortgage renewal if we were sub 2%. And you'll start to see these price reductions in quite quick order. These are the ones that you want to attack, and these are the ones that you can have really good success on moving forward. So if you are a buyer looking for some good value, wanting to partner with something like that, make sure you book into my calendar. You can scan the QR code in the banner, or the link to my calendar is in the description below. I have all these court-ordered sales documents, plus the resale market's just as good, and I think it's a little bit better because you can still get good value, but you can still get your inspection, you can get your lender on there. So depending where you're at, there are a lot of options. But thank you so much for standing in on this video, and I will see you on the next one.